The truth doesn't scream. It hides. In silence. In cold. In the white blur of a snowstorm that came without warning and swallowed a town. This is not just a crime. This is a puzzle. Scattered across tire tracks, call logs, and a question whispered into the dark. Did I hit him? It started like any other cold New England night. January 29th, Canton, Massachusetts. A town asleep under fresh snow. At 3:16 a.m., a phone lit up. A single ping. That timestamp would become the heartbeat of this case. Over and over, we returned to it. Because it's the moment everything fell apart. John O'Keefe, a Boston police officer. Karen Reed, his girlfriend. 2 people, 1 night, and a storm that no one saw coming. Karen says she dropped him off, outside the house. 23, Fairview Road. There was tension between them. They'd argued at the bar. They'd been drinking. But she says she left him alive. She drove away. Her phone records confirm that. A ping shows her leaving the area. Yet those 5 haunting words keep coming back. Did I hit him? She said it that night. She said it again to a friend. She may have whispered it to herself, but was it a question or a confession? At 6 a.m., his body was found, face down in the snow, outside the very house she says she dropped him at. Blood frozen to the ground. His injuries, brutal. Not what you'd expect from a simple fall. Not the legs. Not the back. His face. Blunt trauma. The police have a version. They say she reversed into him. With her SUV. A hit and run, in the driveway. They found red tail light shards nearby. That matched her vehicle. They say she left him there to die in the snow. But one thing didn't make sense. The snow. Fresh snowfall had blanketed the driveway. Untouched. Undisturbed. There were no drag marks. No footprints. No blood trail leading away. If he'd been hit. If she reversed into him. Then where was the chaos? Where was the struggle? Where were the signs? And then, the house. Inside that home where the party had happened. Was laughter. Music. Alcohol. People were drinking. People were talking. People were there. But no one saw a thing? No one heard the moment John O'Keefe died? Not a scream. Not a crash. Not a thud against the snow? Witnesses changed stories. Timelines shifted. One said he came in. Another said he never made it. One remembered seeing him on the couch. Another remembered a dog bark. Then silence. The kind of silence that only guilt leaves behind. A doorbell cam didn't capture the driveway. A neighbor didn't hear a thing. The house itself, full of off-duty officers, was suddenly filled with amnesia. So what happened? Did Karen Reed kill him? Or did something else happen? Inside that house? Was there a fight? Was there a fall? Was someone protecting someone? In every crime, the body speaks. And John O'Keefe's body said something no one wanted to hear. His injuries didn't align with a car strike. Not the way they said it happened. Not the way it should have looked. The autopsy told a different story. Blunt force trauma. Focused on the face. Not the back. Not the legs. Not even the shoulders. As if someone struck him. Close. Personal. Inside. Forensics flagged it. But it was quietly brushed aside. Labeled non-conclusive. Because the moment you admit the body tells a new story, the old one falls apart. In the kitchen, there were smears. Blood faint, but real. A towel, stained red, hidden deep in the bin. A chair overturned. A fingerprint partial, but fresh on the edge of a broken glass. The house said more than any witness did. And yet, it was never treated like a crime scene. Outside, the driveway was clean. No blood. No hair. No skin. But the porch, that was different. There, beneath a welcome mat, a small dark smear. Not obvious. Not big, but enough. And then, the footage. Earlier that night, they were seen at a bar. Karen and John. Laughing. Drinking. No signs of conflict. But watch the corners of the screen. There, in the background. A man watching. Face partly hidden. Following them out. That man was never identified. Never interviewed. Never mentioned in the final report. Why? Karen's phone pinged at 3:16 a.m. Not near the house, but down the street. If she was driving away, as she claims, that ping confirms it. Yet somehow, at that same moment, John was bleeding out in the snow. How? If she hit him, then reversed and fled, there'd be evidence. A trail. Something. But there wasn't. And then came the deleted text. 3:16 a.m. Same time. A message sent from someone inside the house. The phone was wiped before police arrived. But forensics recovered part of it. Just one word. Help. That message was never reported. Never submitted in court. But it existed. It was real. And it raised the question nobody wanted to ask out loud. Who inside that house needed help? And why did they erase it? Meanwhile, Karen's SUV, the so-called murder weapon, showed no blood on the bumper. No dents. No evidence of impact strong enough to cause a skull fracture. Tail light shards were found. Yes. But nothing else matched. The glass? Red. But not exclusive. It could have come from any vehicle. Yet it became the centerpiece of the entire case. A single shard. As if glass could explain silence. Or guilt. Investigators drew diagrams. Angles. Distances. But one fact never changed. The driveway snow remained untouched. No drag marks. No footprints. Just white. Like someone placed his body there. Like it was arranged. And while all this was unraveling, a second truth emerged quietly. Karen's boots, collected for evidence. But the tread didn't match the prints found at the scene. Different shape. Different depth. Someone else had been there. They said the case was clear. That it made sense. But it didn't. It cracked. It splintered. It started bleeding from the inside out. By now, the public had started to notice. Online, people were digging. Reddit threads grew long. YouTube timelines were mapped. TikTok videos broke it down second by second. The police had a narrative. But the internet had time. And time is what the truth needed. Because facts don't die. They wait. They rot. And eventually, they smell. This wasn't just about Karen anymore. It was about something bigger. A case held together by the illusion of logic. A system built to close cases, not question them. Because when evidence cracks, people panic. And when people panic, they cover. I wasn't there that night. But I've seen enough lies dressed up as justice to know the smell of one. From the beginning, something felt off. Not loud. Not obvious. Just wrong. The kind of wrong that doesn't announce itself. It lingers. It waits. And then, like snow, it settles. They said she hit him. Reversed. Killed him in a fit of rage. But the driveway? It told another story. No drag marks. No blood. No footsteps between the car and the body. Just untouched snow. Perfect. Silent. Too perfect. Because real crime is messy. So I started looking deeper. The camera across the street, a doorbell cam, had been dismissed early on. But later, a file surfaced. A recovered clip. Timestamped 3:18 a.m. A vehicle. Not Karen's. Different shape. Different taillights. In that footage, a second car appears, briefly. And then vanishes. Why wasn't that vehicle included in the original investigation? Why wasn't it mentioned in court? When you ask those questions, things get uncomfortable. You're told you're chasing shadows. But sometimes, the shadows are real. Inside that house were multiple people. Off-duty officers. Friends. Locals. The kind of people who understand the system. And how to stay ahead of it. Witnesses changed their statements. One said he saw John inside. Later, he wasn't so sure. Another said Karen was angry that night. Then admitted they hadn't actually spoken to her. Small things. But they add up. One camera angle was edited. One phone call never logged. A witness told police one version. Then told a reporter something different. And then came the leak. A name. Not Karen's. But someone else. Someone who was inside that house that night. Someone with a history, sealed from public view. A private investigator revealed it, not in court, but online. Because sometimes, truth can't wait for permission. By now, the media was losing control. First it was just local coverage. Then Reddit. Then TikTok. Thousands of people began tracing the timeline. Breaking it down, minute by minute. Because the truth wasn't coming from the courtroom. It was leaking out from everywhere else. The public started to shift. Some still believed Karen did it. Others started asking different questions, not about what she did, but what others didn't do. Why didn't the cops treat the house as a crime scene? Why weren't all phones confiscated? Why weren't the guests tested for alcohol? For injuries? Why did police leave out the text at 3:16 a.m.? Why did they never question the second vehicle? Why did every version, every single one, lead away from the house, but never inside it? And then came the silence. Not the silence of justice, but the kind of silence that's built, that's enforced, where every new question gets deflected, where the people involved suddenly forget. The courtroom was quiet, but the world outside wasn't. Protesters gathered. Marches happened. Online posts were taken down. New ones replaced them. Hashtag Free Karen Read began to trend. Because people weren't seeing a woman on trial. They were seeing a system on trial. And beneath it all was something heavier, darker. Because if she didn't kill him, then who did? And if someone else did, why is she still the one on trial? The timeline started to rot. Events were rearranged. Call logs vanished. One text was misquoted. One photograph changed. One moment, they said John was dead at 3:30. The next, 3:16. Then again, maybe earlier. Maybe, before he ever left the house. And that's the question they all avoid. Did he ever leave the house alive? Because if he didn't, then everything else collapses. The driveway, the SUV, the tail light, it all becomes noise. And all you're left with is a man, a body, and a house full of people who say they don't remember. This wasn't a story anymore. It was a fracture, a break, a widening gap between what we were told and what the evidence actually says. Karen Read wasn't just accused, she was offered up. And maybe, just maybe, that's all they needed. Someone to blame, someone outside the house, someone easy to put in a jumpsuit. Because when the truth threatens power, power buries the truth. But not forever. Not this time. In court, they said they were certain. They said the evidence was clear. They said she reversed. She struck him. She panicked. She fled. But while the prosecution stood tall, doubt had already begun to whisper. And it was whispering louder every day. One witness changed their statement. Just one. But that was enough. Because if one part of the story shifts, then every part is up for question. A phone call placed from inside the house was never logged. A camera angle edited. A message deleted. A witness suddenly couldn't recall what time he left, or who else was there, or whether John ever stepped outside. And then, a name. Not Karen's. Someone else's. Leaked by a private investigator. Not through court filings, but online. The name was tied to someone inside the house. Someone who had a reason to lie. Someone who had connections. Suddenly, the story began to bleed. And not just in the press. In the courtroom. A defense team asking questions the prosecution didn't want to hear. A detective admitting he forgot to check certain cameras. A judge pressing lips together tight. You could feel it shift. Not with shouts, but with silence. The kind of silence that screams cover up. Outside, the public was no longer passive. People lined up outside the courthouse, holding signs, lighting candles, asking questions. Where is the real killer? Why wasn't the house searched that night? Why is no one inside the house being charged? The case had become something bigger. Not just about Karen, not just about John, but about a system, a silence, a fear of truth that ran deeper than justice ever dared go. Karen sat in court, silent, eyes low, but you could feel it, the weight. She may never walk free again, but even if she does, some things won't be returned. And maybe she didn't kill him. Maybe they all let him die. Think about that. Not murder, neglect, not a moment of rage, but a collective silence. The kind that seals its lips and watches someone fade in the snow. The final moments of this case weren't dramatic. No gasps, no confessions, no last-minute twist. Just quiet decisions. Files closed, reporters walking away. But behind the curtain, a witness recanted. A file disappeared. And an envelope marked confidential landed on a judge's desk and never left. Karen Read remains on trial. But in the shadows of this story, a deeper trial is taking place. Of systems, of silence, of people who were supposed to protect the truth. and didn't. And when the verdict comes, if it ever does, it won't bring peace, because you can't fix something that was built to protect itself. You can only expose it. In the end, there is no resolution. There is only a woman, a tear, a town scarred, and a question. Not shouted, not debated, but whispered. Was it justice? Or just another cover-up? If this case made you question what justice really means, hit like and share this documentary with someone who needs to hear it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. And if you believe in digging deeper beyond headlines in courtrooms, subscribe to Factor in Law. Because here, we don't settle for the official story. We bring you the full picture from the courtroom to the law itself. Every legal angle, every unanswered question, every factor in law.